Majo John Madden in my camper van around 7:30 in the morning on Friday the 5th of January. It's the last day of school vacation in Mexico. This weekend, the hotel and this strip here, the OXXO store down the way there, will all be busy this weekend and then quiet next week. I've been here 5 days since the afternoon of New Year's Eve, and came down from Xalapa, where I had been 3 months. Biggest city, 600,000, state capital of Veracruz, very important to government and services. A lot of wealth, a lot of prosperity there, some lovely apartments mostly, and poverty is everywhere. But terrible weather, and I've been doing a lot of commenting lately about how there's a consciousness of Xalapa that's kind of driven and progressive and interesting. As the people were there, they don't even know the extent to which their consciousness is fueled by living in a place that's not hospitable to human life. Rain almost every day, clouds, overcast. In the summer, refreshing coolness, but in the winter, too cold. And I have lit up like a Christmas tree here in Veracruz, where the weather is spectacular, and I'm back finally to the ocean, which nurtures me tremendously. And even this little postage stamp of beach here, I have the sound of the surf to sleep to in my van. I've done 3 short videos about going where the wind blows. In my case, since I had a big spiritual experience 4.5 years ago, it's going where Spirit takes me. I turned my life over to Spirit and, to the best of my ability, listen to what I experienced as an inner voice. At first I thought it was coming from out there, but then pretty quickly realized, no, that's your inner pilot. And I don't anymore have a God out there. My spirituality is oneness and non-dualism, and I'm not separate from God. I'm not separate from anybody or anything, and I just don't believe that. It's not a belief, it's my lived experience moment by moment. Mamas and the Papas, back in, I guess, the 70s and 80s, classic hippie band, sang a song that I'm about to inflict on you, a verse of it. Go where you wanna go, do what you wanna do, with whoever you wanna. You don't understand that a woman like me can't love just one man. Okay, you can relax now. I do sing a lot better since I've gotten so much more in my body in 3.5 years on the road. I was in the choir at Jubilee, where I used to go to church in Asheville. People knew I would go flat and in the tenor section, and I had to stand next to Sherman Hoover, who was pitch perfect. And when I'd go flat, he'd give me up, just a little bit up. But I can carry a tune better than before, a lot better. May not have been manifest in that song, which I had not sung out loud before. But the hippie creed of free love, it's clear to me that I can't love just one woman. I'm so full of love, and I love all people, so that when I encounter a woman where something might happen, I let them know pretty soon. I can give you a lot of love like you've never experienced, and it could be long-term. I'm open to long-term if you want to come out to the Riviera Maya, where I'm probably going to end up. but even in the short term, I can't I can't offer or practice monogamy. I have been on the shelf romantically for a long time. My last big relationship, my last intercourse, can we talk? Let's dish. Was Jennifer, the big love of my adult life back in Chicago 25 years ago. I had a girlfriend after that who I met in a sex abuse recovery group. Like, no, this is not the place to meet somebody. But in fact, there were some really good things, including she was passionate in a way that Jennifer had never been. Sex was not the good part of our relationship. And no, that's not true. My wife, that sex was not good for us for 10 years. And Jennifer, that wasn't really what kept us together for 4 years. But between my divorce at age 32 and my diagnosis as bipolar, which totally put me on the shelf, not only because I became ashamed of feeling like I was damaged goods, mentally ill, and because the terrible drugs they put me on, and I was in so much emotional pain that I took them, even though as a clinical psychologist I never believed in that shit. Made me literally impotent. At one point there was a year that I was impotent and thought that function would never come back. So that had a lot to do with me being on the shelf. And what I only really teased out in the last few months since finally not having a dog, because I'm a big lover of dogs, and for 8 years I had always had a dog. I never went more than a month without replacing the previous dog. And 3.5 years on the road, me and my 2 dogs, Poncho first and then Magic, inseparable, always together, unless I was in the hospital a couple times or in jail a couple of times, never for long. And the first time the charges got dropped in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and the second time I was released on my own recognizance after 8 hours in jail, which was amazingly fun time. I'm a dancer, and I sang and danced Mr. Bojangles in my jail cell and engaged with a couple of other prisoners who I could not see in that jail, but we could talk to each other. And when the magistrate at 11 o'clock at night had finally come in to review our cases, he's a really sweet old Mexican guy in Texas there, who said, why am I going to release you on your own recognizance? I know you have no money, and it wasn't a serious charge, but I know you're going to not show up. I said, and I honestly meant it when I said, no, Your Honor, I want to be able to come back to Texas. I was trying to get into Mexico with expired plates, which I finally did illegally. I'm illegal in Mexico. No, I'll show up. But they must have had a terrible backlog, because in the next month or 2 that I was still there, I still haven't heard from them. And then I took off and went to Mexico. So I'm probably a wanted man in Texas, not seriously wanted. I don't think officers have my picture in their cruiser or their phones or their computers. But they might have my ID. Yeah, it's possible. And Tampico, Mexico. Yeah, that's the story. Yeah, so one of the things I realized since my final dog, Magic, who was the best dog of my entire life, unbelievably spectacular dog, who I found abandoned in a swamp in Louisiana as a 1-year-old, and he was only with me for 1.5 years, but we got so close, and he was a magical dog, all right. Loved all people, all beings, right down to sand crabs, and was so devoted to me and so determined to always be the best dog you can possibly be, that I could walk through a Walmart with him off leash, carrying his leash in my hand, and managers would look and say, "Oh, it's walking perfectly alongside that guy. I guess there's no problem." But when Magic got taken from me very violently, and I still don't know if he's alive or dead, and I'm not going to go into that story right now because it's not a good time to cry right now. When he got removed from my life 4 months ago, it took me a while to realize, you know, you are wanting to get off the shelf romantically. You love everybody and you do want to have romantic partners. But part of the reason that hasn't happened in your 3.5 years on the road, or 3 years at that time, or maybe, I don't know, something like that, is because you got a partner. You say we all the time, meaning you and the dog, and everybody assumes you have a partner, and you kind of do. That dog, Pancho, and then Magic is your primary, and the dog knows that. Neither of them would have wanted a woman riding with me, and I do have a habit of picking up stray women who are out on the street and need a place to flop in the back of the van or in one of the chairs here. Never sexual. But there's a little free Chihuahua, little free dog. Very cute. Yeah, that dog would not have welcomed a woman in the van. That spot is taken, but now it's not. Now you can get serious about, it's time to learn more about the ways of love and have experiences with women. In my 3 months in Xalapa just now, I had some pretty serious experiences. There was the woman who was into me as much as I was into her, but very differently. By the end of the first day, after we had had our first coffee date, she had gotten money from her aunt to put me in. She was a middle-class accountant, but she didn't have a lot of money. But she had got money from her aunt to put me in an apartment in her neighborhood. And I thought, okay, she works out of her home, and she doesn't really want us to make that our little shack, love shack. So she wants me to have an apartment. But what I realized within, I guess even later that night through extended text messages, was no, she wasn't seeing that as our little love nest for a few months. She wanted me to be in the neighborhood so she could shape me up to be a better man. She thought living in a camper van was atrocious and crazy. She was pretty middle class. And she was pretty sure she could talk me out of this whole non-monogamy thing. So she had a master plan for over a number of months, turning me into the kind of guy she really wanted, which was not me, but some version of me that she had in her mind. So that was the first one. The second one was a little street hustler that down in Las Trancas neighborhood outside of Xalapa, there was a guy ran an orthopedic shop, and he was helping me in a variety of ways, including letting me get my mail there. And I went up to see him at his store, and the receptionist was so frosty to me. And I was going, what's up with her? I need to let him know that she's got no customer service chops. Well, it turned out she had observed me out on the street in front of the store with this little 22-year-old girl, really close with each other. And we all had a good laugh about she had been offended by that. And Dave says to me, you know, these street girls, they're going to want your money. They're going to want money. And watch out where you keep your money. And in fact, when Ira was around, I had most of my money hidden in case I was to fall asleep. We never did have sex. And I had said to myself, well, you've never been with a hooker. That's part of your learning. Good, embrace that. So she may be wanting money, but she seems to be into you, and that could be cool. And we went into the big Coppell store, and she needed sneakers. And I had just bought some hiking shoes off-brand for 500 pesos. She wanted Pumas. She wanted Pumas for 2,000 pesos. And sucker that I was, I bought them for her. But that was the most she got out of me. I pretty quickly realized that all the pats on the butt and all the baby and all I love you was all a scam. And I don't think she actually was a prostitute, but she was a hustler, a estafadora. And when she finally realized she wasn't going to get any more money out of me, it was, bye. Bye. No, we're not actually going back to my place to dance and I'll cook for you and God only knows what. No, that never was in the plan. So that was a really useful learning experience for me. I embraced that. And then the biggest one was a woman taxi driver who picked me up in outside of my hotel in Xalapa. Mesmerizing 35-year-old, dance, sing, brilliant, drive, brilliant, fast, risk-taking, but such a good driver. And she wanted me to be her man. She did. We were into each other kind of immediately. But she was coming off a very terrible being dumped by a man and was on a 1-year celibacy break. And what, by God, was going to do those last 3 months? No. There was very limited touching and no kissing. And what I finally realized was she doesn't know jack about relationships. She doesn't want a relationship. She wants a man. And doesn't want to get to know me, doesn't want to let me get to know her. And by the way she treats that puppy that she just found is so horrendous. She claims that her spirituality is just like mine, loving all the beings. Yeah, right. She doesn't actually love me, and she sure doesn't love that puppy. So clear it out of there. But another big learning, and then I stayed at her apartment a couple days, and at her house in Cardell for 4 days. 2 days without her, and just me and the puppy getting tight. And just this morning, I wrote a nicer note to her after the excoriating WhatsApp message I sent to her after she cleaned my clock, dumped me on the square in Cardell with no money, and stole all my shit. Yeah. But it's been a few weeks and I sent her a message saying, I get it, where you're coming from. And by the way, I'm real near your apartment in Veracruz, and if you feel like giving me my stuff back, I'm open to that. So learning how all this works. And the one that stimulated this whole little diatribe is there's a girl down here, young, 26, 2 kids, adorable and so sweet, and a really devoted mom, a good mom, and just making it. Doesn't even have a cell phone. Here for the week from Puebla, a couple hours away, because there are very few beggars in Mexico. Right at the border there are, but mostly you don't encounter beggars. It's people hustling, and they're not scamming. They'll sell little things. And this girl was coming down the street selling little rolls of duct tape. Yeah, 10 pesos, cheap, barato. So I bought that from her, and it was right in the spot, exactly here, so she does know where I am. And she had only her older son, who's maybe 6 or 7, who was really a cool kid. And when I said to him, is that your madre or your older sister? And he says, madre. And I looked at her and I says, you're too young to have a kid this age. Teasing, because I knew she wasn't really too young. I thought she was maybe 22, but she was 26. And when she said 26, I said, vieja. Old woman. And the son thought that was hysterical. So I hit it off with the 2 of them, and I've seen them twice more, including yesterday morning down the beach there, and she had her baby now in tow, and we had a real conversation. My Spanish is good enough that I can, and she told me about Puebla and why she was here, and it was very sweet. It was very sweet. And at the end, she twice took my hand very tenderly, and I'm hooked. I'm hooked. And overnight what I realized was I don't want to look for anything from her. I want to make it real clear that this is totally open-handed. And I don't have money right now, but I do get a check at the beginning of every month. And my plan is that I'll start bringing in more money by coaching. When I land in a spot out in the Riviera Maya where there will be potential coaching clients, psychologist and management consultant, and I have my own form of coaching I've developed, which is hot. I think it's quite hot. And has had big impacts on a couple of people. So I thought, if I see her, she's only here a couple more days, and hopefully I will see her. She knows where I live. And we kept encountering, we saw each other, I guess, 3 times yesterday. I want to say, if you are willing to give me, and you don't have to do it right now, I'll give you my card, my information. Give me some way that I could get money to you. I would like to send you money on a regular basis, just to make life a little easier for you, because she's a real, in addition to being adorable, she's a really great person and great mom and trying so hard to make the go of it. And since I did wake up, it's give back, help. I drive around in a camper van. In the U.S., the myth is the Lone Ranger. And I think there were experiences where people would say, "Who was that guy? I never had a chance to thank him." And here's a chance to help. Here's a chance to help, and do it open-handed. And if she says, "I've been thinking how sweet you are. Before I leave, let's get together," and that could be great. And then, oh God, my fantasies did go from there last night to, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm not ready to leave you. And I would say, I could give you guys a ride to Puebla and maybe stay for a while if you want to do that. But that's all way, 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 way beyond the here and now. In the here and now, I would like to say, hey, I've got an idea. I would like to send you money. I don't have money to give you now, but I could send you a little money, because I'd like your life to be a little easier than it is. Yeah. So love first, genuine caring, and sex, which would be unbelievable with her and with almost anybody at this point. But that's second. That's gotta be second. Gotta be second. Or third or fourth. Not the lead. Not the lead story. All right. Bye.